Good morning, Earth. It's time to get up and plan the day ahead. Let's make it count.
Good morning, Earth. It's time to wake up. It's your boy Sky without Blue, but I would like to apologize first. For 2 weeks, we haven't put anything out. My mom was actually in the hospital. She went in for back pain. Get this, she went in for back pain. Then they found a brain tumor that's benign in her head, and then she needed to go in for hernia surgery. But then she was having silent seizures, so it's been a tough 2 weeks. But she's good. She's all healthy. But yeah, so that's why we haven't really put anything out lately. So I mean, you understand. And it's Mother's Day, so we want to make sure we give her a little extra love. Today we're gonna do cross discussions. If you know this before, we actually talk to other podcasts about various topics. And this week we are actually joined by Travis from the Bar Banter Podcast.
What's going on, Sky?
I just told you. What's going on with you?
That's a good point. Not too much, man. Just been putting out episodes weekly and just trying to stay above water, you know.
Yeah, and then we're gonna hear back from you about that more later. But today we're kind of going into this. This for me, it's really fun. It's one of my favorite parts. But we're gonna be talking about some alien stuff today and some dimensional, which some people actually think aliens and interdimensional stuff are the same thing. What do you think about that? Do you feel aliens are interdimensional or from another planet?
I would, well, like you said, we'll get into this. I would lean more towards interdimensional.
Yeah.
But I do think that
Funner.
there's
Oh, you
there
think there's
has
like
to
both?
be aliens, but in a way that we don't necessarily think about initially is what I'm gonna lead with that.
A little teaser for later.
Yeah.
All right, so then, like you said, let's just get right into it. So we actually talked about some of the things that we wanted to talk about, and the first thing we're going to talk about is the gimbal. Can you let everybody know what the gimbal footage is?
Yeah, so the gimbal footage is a video of some object flying in the sky, recorded by an F-18 pilot, and the way the F-18 pilot describes it is that it's going, I forgot exactly, it's going into the wind, it's 20,000 feet up, and then all of a sudden, as it's flying and it's being tracked by their onboard camera, it just kind of stops midair.
Yeah,
And
this
it
is
doesn't fall, it doesn't, and there's no propulsion. You can't see anything coming off of it. It's just, it's traveling, it kind of tilts a little bit, and then it stops.
yeah,
And
I
like,
remember
that's
that one,
not
yeah.
how,
No, and it
that's
was like
not how
floating in the
things
wind.
fly.
Yeah, and it was floating in the wind. Like the wind should have been moving it around, and it was like
It was
fixated at one point.
perfectly or not. I don't know if it was exactly horizontal, but it was perfectly in level with the horizon at the time. And the pilot also said something to the effect of like, "Oh, there's a whole uh, formation of them." I think is the word he used.
Yeah, off to the
So maybe
side.
another 6 or 7 that weren't showing up on his camera at the time. So that's the video that I've been looking into a bunch recently.
So then this actually raises some questions. Do you think this is alien technology, super like a secret human project, or something else that we're not even like thinking currently?
So this one, specifically this one, I think is fake.
That
I hate that it is fake, but I think this is I don't have a degree in like being able to tell whether or not, you know, visual effects were used. I don't have that kind of thing in my repertoire. However, it is very, and I don't remember all the details that he said, but it's about a 10-second clip, and he spells out all of the details you would need to know in that 10 seconds, like very curiously.
So
Like, how did he know to like get all these
so
things
what you
in
mean
that
by
one?
fake? Then you mean more like this is a plant to make it seem like it's some alien technology.
Well, I mean, I think the video, the video could have been faked. I don't have
Well,
the.
wasn't it released by the U.S. government or actually
I,
leaked from the U.S. government?
It could have been, yeah. I think it was, but that doesn't mean it's not faked.
No, yeah, you're right.
You
One of
know?
the guys who's big into the paranormal conspiracy theories, the guy with the beard who always finds the videos, he's the one actually who leaked it. So maybe you're right. Maybe we don't know where his side of it is, because maybe
Mhm.
he is getting money from it, or notoriety, or getting people to get him on his podcast to talk about things.
Yeah,
Isn't
I
that-
just it's
I've never heard him either.
outside of our paradigm of flight, and so I can't immediately jump to aliens. There's got to be other reasons why this thing is there before I say that it's aliens. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well,
Like, it
if
could be a
it's
top secret government project. I don't know.
but if it's fake,
But
then it wouldn't be anything at all. It just
right,
be.
it could also be just fake.
Never heard anyone say this fake. That's interesting because it definitely, they don't want to talk about it, and why would they talk about it if it's not real? Are you saying that though? Do you think it visually looks fake?
No, it doesn't necessarily. I'm not, and that's why I said like I don't have the tools to analyze whether or not it looks fake or not because it looks real, right? There is, and I forgot ASA. Is that the technology? No, that was the other one. It was the IR camera, I think, the infrared camera
Infrared,
that
yeah.
it was tracking. Yeah, that it was tracking, and by all accounts, the footage looks like footage from an IR camera. So from that perspective, yes, I think the footage could very well be real. However, I haven't seen anyone actually take I haven't seen a forensic approach to breaking down the video and
Yeah. Well, I've heard whispers that some people think it's fake because it's fixated in the middle and doesn't look real. But if you're not used to seeing something that could be stuck in air without moving, it would look fake, just like an AI picture drawing of somebody. It's just slightly off. So it could be it's slightly off because you've never seen an object be stuck in the air before.
Well, so the reason why it's the camera's fixated on it in the middle is actually the software in the IR camera. It actually helps.
Yeah. Yeah, but they were actually
pilot.
saying that it was kind of like floated, like the wind wasn't pushing it side to side, is
Right.
what I mean. So it has so if it was like a real object that normally would be pushed by wind, what you would see is some fluctuation left to right, up and down, more
Right.
so than what you see in the video. So that could make it look fake to some people, like, oh, it's not even moving.
That's fair.
But do you want it to be fake, or are you like one of those like I'm hoping it is real, but I don't think it is real?
The little boy in me wants it to be real, right? Because that'd be so exciting. Like, aliens, this is awesome. Or even like actual next level technology. That would be cool too. The skeptic in me thinks it's fake as well. Like, I'm very much evidence based. I'm very much like, let me see.
The Pentagon has acknowledged that the video exists and that it's
Sure.
real, that that it was taken from their archives. So if it's fake, then the Pentagon would have to be like, no, it's fake, and perpetrate that it's real and pretend it doesn't exist instead. So it's like, can you come up with any reason why someone like the government wouldn't want us to know that it's fake? Is this like, because have you heard of Project Bluebeam? Sorry.
I can't say that I have, but let me answer your question real quick because I think sometimes the Pentagon doesn't have enough time to bother with some of this stuff, and so maybe the video was made as a project to test the video editing capabilities of some new software that they're rolling out, and so they're actually playing with and
seeing if we
trying
believe
to
it's real.
doctor different videos, and that was a program they had.
That's
and
clever,
they
actually.
shut down the program, and then now they're asking like, yeah, it's in our archive, sure, whatever, that's true, but also like, this is we don't have time for this. We have other things we have to work on. Like, we don't need to make statements about this. Let's just move on. Like, I think sometimes everything gets kind of blown out of proportion when it's just a lot of times it just boils down to like, that's what you're focused on. Sure, yeah, it's real. Okay, let's go on. I got things to do.
So Project Bluebeam, we actually talked about on the show before. It's a supposed, not I won't say government project, but it's for the people who are controlling America's project, that they eventually want to use software and like a holographic projection.
Yeah.
So they want to do that and make people think that there's really alien threats are coming. So they would give up their religion and their money and everything else so the government can stand against them. All right, fine, give me everything I can and we'll try to take them out for you. And it's a way to bring in the New World Order. And you saying that it's like a technology, well, if this does connect to like supposedly to something that's like a Project Bluebeam, it could be like they leaked it to see if we would believe it's a real video.
Maybe.
That's interesting. I like how you think that we got a whole, like, I feel like that's something that a lot of people don't even talk about. And I don't know why we don't talk more often.
Because again, I want it to be real from like the idea of dope spacecraft technology. That would be awesome, right? That part of me was like, please be real. But then I'm also like, okay, let's think about the other stuff we're about to get into here in just a second. It's probably not real, and there's got to be some other random thing as to why this is a video.
Well, I'm glad I got this out the way then, because they would have took the wind out of my sail if this was like at the middle of the end and you just, nope, it's not real. No, like, no, why we don't talk about this?
I don't want to spoil this for you now, but I am very much an analytical skeptic with a heart that leans towards wanting everything to be real. So,
but your heart says yes, but your mind says no.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm trying to let my heart talk to me more. So this is actually good, heart versus brain. And I feel like I brought up some good points that made the brain go, that's true.
Yeah, of course.
But you brought up some things that made the heart go, that's true.
Yeah.
You son of a bitch. So then
we'll be doing that a bunch tonight.
So then let's try to do that for the Fermi Paradox.
Yes.
So yeah, go ahead. Let everybody know what the Fermi Paradox.
At a very basic level, the Fermi Paradox is, if space is infinite, where the hell is everyone? Right? There should be aliens out there. If we're not special, right? If we're just these carbon-based blobs on this floating rock in the middle of one random solar system in the middle of one random universe,
of nowhere, really.
Middle of nowhere, like, where the hell is everyone? And so that's the Fermi Paradox, is it's so big that there has to be people, but there are none. Well, and so
yeah,
that to me is what I mentioned earlier. I think that there has to be, but if we look at the conditions and the time scale and the ability to become a type, I think it's 3 civilization, where you're multi-galaxy, right? You can travel to other galaxies and other parts of the universe.
You could control all the power on your planet, and you use the sun for parts of the sun. I think it's like 30 to 40% at that point.
I don't remember the exact amount, but it was...
we're still way off, by the way. We're still at 5.
Oh,
we're way in 5. Yeah,
not even close. I think that it's so, one, it's already difficult to get to where we are. It's infinitely difficult to get to a type 3 civilization, and then it's also infinitely difficult to find another. If you do get there, it's infinitely difficult to find another civilization, just because there is infinity.
Yeah, but even look at Earth, because even on Earth there are thousands and thousands of different species of animals and plants.
Yeah,
but there is only one species of all of them that got any intelligence, and so it's like, well, maybe those planets got a bunch of dum-dums and they're not quite possibly to move around, so they could be there, but they're just like us, who are stuck in their land.
And that's why when at the beginning of the episode, I said, I do believe aliens exists, but not necessarily the way we think of it. Like, I don't necessarily believe they've visited Earth, but on some distant rock, in some distant star system, in some infinity light years away.
They've been here for thousands of years, 50,000 at least.
We'll get into that in a little bit, but I'm just saying.
Good, because I have some information about that too. I would love to get into.
We will, but I'm just saying that's the Fermi Paradox is where like we should have.
Someone should have showed up already and like, hey, we're here.
But we've also only been really broadcasting. When was the radio invented? Hold on, radio.
1890s, maybe even sooner, 1850s.
You're not far. It's in the early December 1900.
Okay.
So that to me is the first potential.
Wait, we had a moving picture before we had the radio? Are you kidding? We really had a moving picture before we had the radio. That is hilarious.
But so it's only been, if it was 1900, it's only been
125 years.
125 years that we've actually been broadcasting, and that's not very far for radio waves to travel. Like,
no.
Our signal is not out. It's probably not far enough for anything to have reached out yet. So
you would think cosmic radiations and stuff like that would interfere with it too. There's a lot of stuff out there we don't know about.
Yeah. Let's see. Google says radio signals emitted from Earth have traveled about 200 light years into space already.
Okay, so there's actually some planets and suns in that range, and I think that's in the range of some that we believe could have life on it. But I don't know.
But getting through to a type 3 civilization or a type, because even if like what you said earlier, where I think this was before we started recording, even if they're a type 1 civilization, right? Even if they're like us, I think is what we are, or 0.5, whatever.
We're 5, yeah. It goes down to 1.
It goes down to 1. Okay. If we're 5, then and if there's another 5 within 200 light years of us, they may not have the equipment to receive radio signals.
Yeah.
Like, and so.
Yeah. You ever heard of a thing called the Great Filter?
Yeah. That's basically part of that civilization types.
At some point, you can only go so far, and then you get knocked back over and have to start all over again, basically.
Yeah.
Like there's a limit to what you can do with time. But that, again, that's all man-made and human thought. Like of course, that's how we see it. But if they understand the universe different than us, then they can get past that great filter. But then I also because this actually sets up to the next one.
By the way, I was using the Kardashev scale. I had to Google it again. Where there's only three types. It's type 1 is us.
Oh, is the other way? Okay.
Type 2 is stars energy. Type 3 is its galaxy's energy.
Oh. Well, I was way off. Maybe I was thinking tornadoes. But if there are out there, it's funny because the next thing we want to get into is the zoo hypothesis. And that's kind of where it goes. Is when we observe certain kinds of animals, they don't know that we're watching them.
Right.
Even monkeys, some of the smarter ones, if we use drones or like a drone and then drop a camera and they'll forget about it, they not realize we're watching them. Mm-hmm. Isn't it possible they're so much more advanced than us that they don't allow us to see them observe us? And that this is like a zoo type of thing where they get to come here and, because that's what the zoo hypothesis basically is, right? That we're some kind of like planet-wide terrarium. Mm-hmm. That other more advanced species come by and kind of like, if you go to Six Flags, what is it called? I've never been there before. I couldn't afford it. What is it called? The Safari Zone. Was that Pokemon? But you know what I mean?
Safari Zone is Pokemon, but yes. Animal Kingdom at Disney, is that what you're talking about?
No, Six Flags in the Safari Kingdom, was it? I don't know. I forget.
I don't know. I only know Six Flags the roller coasters. I don't know they had a zoo.
Yeah. In Jersey's one, you can run, and it's all safari animals like giraffes, lions, and stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah. So like, if they don't know we're really watching them, how could we possibly know something that's more intelligent than us watching?
So I like the way you think about how, an ant, right, doesn't know that we're watching. Right, we're so huge to that ant that it has no idea.
If they see something moving, they're just like, some big thing's moving.
Right. It's massive, it's huge, and they can probably smell us or whatever. because they're good. They've got good smell from their antenna and their pheromone receptors and things like that. So they're good like that. Same thing with bees and other tiny little microscope. And if you even go down to like tardigrades, the tiny microscopic indestructible bears. Do you know about those guys?
All those little like they look like piggy little things. They're like
Yeah, like little no eyes. They've got like eight little weird chubby appendages.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, they definitely don't know we're watching them.
Right. They have no idea. Zero idea. And so I would like to think that we have enough intelligence and instruments at this point to where we would have picked up on something not necessarily our size, but something bigger than us. Because I think if it was our size, there's enough monitoring. If there is something entering in our atmosphere, it has to break through the atmosphere. It's got to cause heat, and it's got to obey the laws of physics, and you're going to see a streak across the sky.
Not necessarily.
I would have to. But I'm saying if it was a ship that carried an alien of our size.
But you're thinking of human technology coming through the atmosphere. What if they can bend the fabric of space where they're inside the atmosphere already? Or what if they can teleport?
And if they could, that would be awesome. However, I don't think we're all that interesting enough. I don't know why an alien would be able to find us, going back to kind of the Fermi Paradox. Like, the universe is infinitely large. Like, that's not a measurable thing. They are the JWST is seeing new stars get born out of from billions of years ago, hundreds of billions of years ago, and it's just like there is so much stuff that I don't think they could find us, because the only way most of the time we can find even other planets is to like happen to catch a planet go in front of a star, or like see the tiny little bit of the distortion in their gravitational waves. So it's like you have to be looking, first of all, to find us. And if you're not looking at us as soon as we cross, you're going to miss it. And then two, we're not that interesting. Like, we're a type 1 civilization. We can barely, unless we're a reality TV show where we're hell-bent on destroying each other and people are watching that, like, no, the other aliens don't care.
Let's put it into perspective, because right now the consensus against with alien people is that there's 3 to 7 alien races. Now, if you take the fact that there's 3 to 7 of them, and it could be fake or not, but let's say it is 3 to 7 for millions and millions and millions of stars and billions of planets, and there's still only being 7 around. Maybe they're interested in us because we're the closest thing. Like, look at here, the closest thing we have is monkeys. After that, it starts to progressively get worse. So maybe the interest in us is like, oh, this runaway race on this planet is becoming where they're sending stuff into space. Let's go see what they're doing about that. It's like more philosophical. They might want to avoid us to keep us on a normal path, or 2, they have their own ethics and codes where it's like you don't mess with another one. I think, though, it's more likely that they interfered with us. I actually have this a working theory.
New theory alert!
That humans developed language because people who were sensitive to telepathy heard aliens probing them with their minds, and eventually they try to mimic the sounds out loud and became our languages. Because there's a lot of funny things. I look to ancient stuff the most, because if it's all across the world and y'all didn't talk to each other, why is there multiple civilizations that talk about rainbow bridges? And we have stories in Australia, Asia, Europe, especially. Everyone knows the Rainbow Bridge from Thor. even South America and Africa, all talking about some kind of rainbow in the sky. What if they
Mhm.
used the alignment power and cosmic power of that and sent people over to look at the cosmic alignment?
I mean, I go back to what I said earlier. Like, we have our solar system has, if you include the sun, it has 9 celestial bodies and some other dwarf planets and other stuff.
Yeah, plus the moon.
And like, they're not special, right? There are other solar systems with 9 celestial bodies. There are other solar systems with 10, 11, 12, 4, 6. Like, and these alignments are happening. There's so many of these solar systems, in fact, that these alignments are happening every second of every day. That's how many stars there are in the universe, right? They're not a celestial body alignment is not special. It's special to us
Well, do we know the
because,
average sun to planet ratio?
well, I mean, even if there were 2, right? Even if there was 3, they line up at some point. And so my point is that there's an infinite number of stars. And so there are at all times some sort of celestial body alignment in one of those solar systems. So why is ours, because it happens to have Jupiter and Saturn with its rings, why is ours special for an alien to come see?
Yeah, I
You
just
know?
Googled it. The average is 10 per star.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
So,
is even
like,
smaller than that. That's the average. So there's a whole bunch that
right.
has like 12, 14, 15.
Some have 2, some, but that's my point. Like, ours is not special. Our universe is not. So the
Maybe it's
only
special, but you just can't see how special it is.
no, well, so here's where I would give you, and this is obviously just for funsies. If the only reason why we would be special for an alien to come visit us is if they planted us here in some way, shape, and form, even if it was as the initial bacteria that we may have evolved from, and they're checking in on us, and it's like an experiment, or they're, you know, trying to find a
Yeah.
way to repopulate. If that's how it happened, sure, then
Or
there's a reason to come back and like watch and have that
my
zoo
theory where they
hypothesis. But
accidentally taught us language because they kept probing our minds.
right, but then they would have had to come here at some point.
Oh yeah, I
Like
think they've been
yours
here.
could be
I think they're here for
a
like at least 150,000 years.
well, they had to have been here a lot longer than that because
Well, yeah, that's why
I
I'm
mean,
because a lot of these old stories they go back much longer than I think we realize. Look at Göbekli Tepe. That's that thing was built 10,000 BC, but yet we weren't supposed to build anything that great. And
see,
people don't
that's
realize
not
it's not as great as the pyramids, but it's a really impressive structure that's on the level, the tier of those pyramids
sure.
being built.
Yeah, and I don't, but I think a lot of people get confused with ancient civilizations being cavemen, and
Well,
if
at
you
that time, it's
have
nomads. We were. They say that we were too busy trying to get fed every day to sit
right,
down someplace and actually build something.
but that doesn't mean you don't have intelligence.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So like,
Yeah.
and with enough time, and no one knows how long they were there for, but with enough time, and with the because I don't think our intelligence has gotten that much better from 10,000 years ago. It
Mm-hmm.
has
It has.
in terms of a
I've been looking it up. It
um,
has. About 10 to
of course it
15,000 years
has.
ago, there was a great jump in structure of our brain for social stuff, math and stuff
Right.
like that. Before that, it was still things like art, music, and skills like that. It's just it just. Do you think that? Hold on. Do you think that like the zoo hypothesis, if there are aliens, do you think that's the most likely answer to the Fermi paradox? That they don't see us because we don't see them because they're
No,
watching us.
no,
So you think the simplest one is they just don't exist?
no, because I do think aliens exist from a uh like I said, from a type 1 civilization, right? If there's an infinite number of stars and planets, there's probably an infinite number of type 1 civilizations, but the laws of physics won't allow us to become a type 3. Well, I also think there's quote alien life on Mars because there's probably I believe there is frozen water at the poles,
there is.
and there's probably some sort of bacteria there, right? So from my perspective, that is extraterrestrial life. It's not extraterrestrial intelligence, but it is an alien life form at the end of the day. So from that perspective, aliens exist.
Okay, so you don't necessarily think there's intelligent alien life. You just think there are microbial, maybe even vegetation, on some of these planets.
Well, no, I think in our local solar system, yes, it's only, we'll say, microbial stuff. But I do think, again, because there is an infinite number of planets, there has to be another, or maybe not right now, but at one point in the universe's history, there was another set of intelligent life. They just were billions of light years away, and just they're never going to know about us, and that's fine. It's just they can't. They may have gotten to their moon, but then they blew up.
Or they have their own Star Trek Prime Directive and don't allow themselves to interfere.
I don't think we're going to get there.
You think anybody will get there?
And if they do, that's where that last point comes in. If one civilization makes it past the last great filter and becomes a Type 3 civilization, they're not going to find us because we're not special.
But you don't know that we're not special.
I do know that,
but you don't know that.
I do. We're not special.
Here's something. I will make an analogy of this. As a kid, if you're gifted, and no one tells you that you're special, you're gonna think that you're not special. But if you know what I'm saying, like you don't really, maybe you're a little special and you don't know how special you are because you don't know the limits of what the universe can do.
I don't know so that's going to get into this next part, which is interdimensional stuff.
Well, that sounds like a good segue. Well, you know what? Actually, let's take a break right there, and then we're going to hear from Tucker. All right, so we'll be right back after this. I forgot what it was already.
This quick promo.
A quick promo. We'll be right back. I took 2 shots before we started recording.
Nice.
Hey, it's Travis from the Bar Banter Podcast, where friends, drinks, and dumb debates collide. Ever argue, what's the best cereal milk? Or could you fight 100 duck-sized horses? How about, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Spoiler alert, we're still fighting about that one. New episodes drop every Wednesday because your midweek needs more chaos. Find us on YouTube, Instagram, and all your favorite podcast apps. Be sure to hit the link tree at _Bar Banter Podcast. And when you do join us, be prepared to grab a drink, take a side, and banter responsibly.
Let's make it count. Make it count.
And welcome back. We're here with Travis again from the Bar Banter Podcast, as you just heard. And before we went to the break, you actually mentioned something about interdimensional reality.
Yes.
And I think the first thing I want to touch up on is something called consensus reality theory. And I'm not really too sure what this is. Do you? Like, I do, but like I don't know. Yeah. All right, good, because I have no idea what I'm going to say.
It's obviously, like everything else we've been talking about, it's something fun, but the idea is that things only exist because we all agree that they exist. And a really good way to put this is like, we all agree that apples are red, right? This
green
one
ones.
apple is red, but people who are red, green, colorblind can't see that it's red. And so if we were all red, green, colorblind, we might agree that it's a weird shade of beige. I don't know what a color would actually be.
Gray.
But to something else, to some other species, to some other maybe even person, it actually is red. And so it's this thing that you
think that's how we got Granny Smith apples? Like, some people was just like, no, it's green. Then and one day it's like, hey, I told you it's green.
Right. It's the same thing. Do you remember that weird, I think it's probably 10 years ago, it was that trend where people saw the dress and everyone was like, no, it's blue and black, or it's white and gold. And people couldn't agree on it. I thought it was very obviously blue and black, and people were like, you're stupid, right? It's clearly white and gold. I'm like, No, it's and so that's kind of the idea behind it, is that we all measure reality slightly differently, and because of because we're all technically in our own measured reality, we have to have some sort of agreed upon rules, some of
Yeah.
which have extended to things like, I don't believe this one, but like if everyone stopped believing gravity existed, we'd all start floating, right? That's crazy talk, but that's kind of the idea behind the theory. And I think, again, there's some
A collective
credence,
belief or perception.
right? There is some credence to that in terms of we are all living in our own measured reality,
A
and
collective
everyone's is
mind.
slightly different from everyone else's.
And it gives creed to this collective consciousness. And I think that goes in with the consensus reality, because it's like, what if
A
we're
little.
we're all seeing things through one mind. And like I keep going back to ancient texts, but a lot of ancient texts and religions talk about we're all God. We all come from the same thing. So
Mhm.
I mean, if that's true in a spiritual way, then there would be a collective mind, because we're really all the same.
I hadn't thought of it like that before. I was coming at it from more of a physics,
Mm,
way of how actually, like, how the light ray that bounced off of, again, I'm going to use the apple.
mhm.
The light ray that bounced off of the apple is a different light ray that bounced off the apple that hit your eye.
Yeah.
So
It absorbs
if
every other color but red, and then shoots the red color back into our eyes.
right, but
Thank you,
for
Magic School
whatever
Bus.
reason, if it hits a different spot, it's now a different color for you, and you're like, what the hell is going
Yeah.
on?
And plus,
Right?
women
And
actually
so
see more colors than men too, so there could be a disparity on that.
And so, to your point, going back to aliens, we might not be able to see them just because of the way we're wired, right? That
Yep.
is, I don't disagree with that at a
Yeah,
whole, but we
because
have so many other scientific instruments now that I feel like we should have been able to pick up on something at some point. But
maybe this
that's
is the reason why we don't see aliens, because we can't come together as a society, and that's why maybe the government keeps us divided. So maybe if we believe that they're there more, they'll be there, and then they have to
maybe.
explain why they're there. And if there enough people can't see it, don't want to believe in it, then it kind of warps our perception of our reality, because it's some kind of collective perception.
I mean, we could manifest aliens right now.
I've seen. Have you seen those videos where they actually manifested UFOs in the middle of like these oceans and stuff?
No, I can't say that I've seen those.
They never show the UFO showing up. They just say, "Oh, we just did it." But who knows? Like, even if you could, like, maybe they tried to video it, and for some reason it just doesn't come up on our camera, because our perception of the camera won't pick it up. Like our limitations, and that with interdimensional stuff, that's what I think is like, we're really interdimensional beings. I think we go in between dimensions all the time. I just don't think we realize it.
We could be, like you said, we are interdimensional in that we are constantly going through 4 dimensions, 5 dimensions, however many there are. There's definitely 4 because of time, but that's not necessarily a spatial dimension, which it could be, but I don't know too much about that. But my point is that we have, like you said, we have to be interdimensional beings because we're constantly being put through all of the dimensions all at the same time. We just can't see it.
I think that, yeah, I mean, what you say sounds real. I think it's a little bit more magical than that. Perfect example is mantras. It's like those positive things. It's like, I don't want to touch on Mandela effects, but I think there are there because we transcend dimensions. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. And
so we're gonna hit Mandela effects real quick because this is why I wanted to put it in here.
Yeah, I know. I got a whole other show, but we'll have other stuff to talk about.
The consensus theory kind of backs up the Mandela effect. And what I was talking to you about, how we measure things differently.
Mm-hmm.
If you saw C-3PO's leg as red and I saw it as silver, just because of the way we measured it at that one time, you go back and you try to find it and you can't. That, to you, that's kind of like a Mandela effect, right? So those things, I don't know if they're necessarily a conspiracy Mandela effect where people purposely try to take things out, but I can absolutely see a Mandela effect happening with the consensus theory of just like, hey, we all have agreed that it said Berenstain Bears and not the Berenstain Bears.
Well, there's some grumbles that it's the U.S. government who's actually doing this and wiping stuff away to see how far they can get away with changing history.
Sure. Yeah, no, and I don't necessarily believe in all of the government conspiracy theories because if you've seen some of the inefficiencies in our government, you would probably understand that if they tried to do something like this, they would screw it up pretty easily.
Didn't they just find $1 trillion just going through the auditing?
Exactly. So it's just like, you know what? I'm sure
at that point,
I'm
it could
sure
be
some
true.
people do a lot of really great things in the government. I'm sure there's some really great stuff, but like global conspiracies, like the amount of people you have to pay to keep their mouth shut.
Not necessarily. If you rule the world and you really have to keep shut are like a handful of leaders and you have money for them or something. Like, let's look at the U.S. presidency. You know, every president, except for one, left office like megatudes, millions of more money than they did going in. It's like, where did you get that money? You only make $500,000 a year as a president. And so how do you go from being worth $1 million to leaving office being $20 million?
I can't speculate.
You don't want to. They're coming for you.
No, it's more of a I'm sure once you're president, you have access to the best accountants and the best investors and the best everything. And so it wouldn't be too difficult over the course of 4 years to take $2 million and turn it into, because you don't have any expenses, right? So you're guaranteed coming out, I'm rounding, but you're guaranteed coming out of it at $2 million after 4 years. So yeah, you invest that the right way with knowing what you know, even though you're not supposed to insider trade, etc.
But we know
someone
better.
else to do it.
All our night watchers here, they know better. Oh, we started calling them night watchers, and I always forget to call them night watchers. They are night watchers.
Oh, there's one now.
I'll take this quick second too. If you're listening to this, check out WKMU.podbean.com. You can find our Twitter and everything else there. If you're listening to this, leave a comment, a heart, anything, share it. It's really helpful, and it lets me know that you like the show, and I can go back to those for more things. Also, like I said earlier, we're actually coming in another week or two. We're going to be dropping Mandela Effect. So, Travis, I know you might want to check that out. But, all right, back to the show. You had your promo, now it's my turn. But, yeah, definitely. It's like, it's so weird because if some people saw one thing, and then other people saw the tree fall the other way, and there's no evidence afterwards, how do you know which way it went?
Exactly. You don't. It's only, I think it was probably Neil deGrasse Tyson, because I watch a lot of him.
I hate him.
That's fine. The only thing that's accurate.
I don't hate him. I love him. I just hate him at the same time. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I understand. The only thing that's accurate in theory is counting. And even then that gets speculative because it's like,
you can miscount.
Wait, no, it's not even miscount, but it's like, so my point is like, you can count to 10, but that doesn't mean your measurement of those things is actually right because of, well, that finger doesn't qualify because it's too small. So there's nothing in this world, in this universe, that is exactly the same from person to person.
No. And I think that's why, like, the interdimensional thing is more prevalent when you believe in it. And it feels like the more I've been believing in stuff, the more evidence I see of it. And it's like that positivity, or I'm attracting what I want. Like, I want this, so I'm finding evidence for it. But the evidence that I've been looking through also say, like, the world that we live in is way more magical than we were before. And so I brought up the quick Mandela effect because, quick recap, Mandela was president of South Africa in the 80s. People remember him dying and actually having a funeral on TV. And he actually lived until, I think, to 2018.
Yep. Something like that.
So they call it the Mandela effect. So I actually think the reason why we have these things is not only a consensus reality, it's one where eventually you lose hold of the consensus.
Yep.
That's why there's somebody who says, I remember him dying, because you transcended somehow into a dimension where he didn't die. And the consensus here is, he stayed alive.
So to me, I don't think of that as a different dimension, but maybe an alternate timeline, which I don't think necessarily, because we have, again, 3 spatial dimensions, but we've always been told there's only one timeline, and that seems silly, right?
Yeah. I'm definitely
Like-
into the multiverse and different times and stuff like that. I think
Right.
all time happens at once. Right now, Joan of Arc is dying. Jesus is being born. The first man is walking.
I agree with that, but I also think all of the different iterations of time are also happening
Mhm.
all at once.
The multi-time. Yeah, that's the big one. The multiverse timeline where everything ever that can happen ever is literally happening at this point right now. That's so
Yeah.
weird. Maybe that's where backrooms actually come from. Maybe that transcending of dimensions. Like if there is a way to get to another dimension, like again why don't you go into what the back room is? We did an episode about this, but this one creeps me out, but it also confuses me.
Well, so the backrooms idea was, it was a 4chan post, I think. Like,
I think
I'm
so.
gonna say 10 years ago. I don't remember what it was.
Maybe even more.
It could have been, and it was just like, hey, everyone.
Oh, it's wrong. I'm sorry. It's right here. It was actually born on 4chan in 2019.
It was only 2019, huh? But the idea is that there's some weird liminal in between universe that you can kind of fall into.
For those
And
who like Stephen King, this would be the Langoliers type of thing. Like I don't know if you know a fan. Have you ever seen Langoliers or read the book?
I have not. Langoliers?
Yeah, it was a Stephen King. It was like a sea movie in the 80s, I think. And basically, it's these. They're on a plane and they fall asleep and they go through some kind of portal, and everybody on the ship disappears but them, and they find out that they're actually in another dimensional time frame. They're actually like 5 minutes behind, or 5 minutes ahead, or behind. And if they don't get back into their time, these things called Langoliers come up and eat everything to continue time. Otherwise, it would be destroyed by all the leftover time of the past.
Well, that's just true. that was a documentary, as we say.
So definitely, I feel like that's a back room. Maybe that's where the back rooms came from. Somebody saw that. It's like, oh, this is basically. But like some people say, it's like a game where you like clip out of reality, and like you're in like some kind of like waiting room, and so you can get out.
So I think the original 4chan post was it was like 2 sentences or whatever. It was just describing this weird liminal space. Like, hey, we've all been here, right? And lots of different people have taken that and ran with it to where there's different levels of the back room. There's different creatures in the back rooms. There's different ways to survive the back rooms in terms of like, they only have Sprite in the back rooms. And a lot of it's just dumb and stupid and fun. But I like the idea of this liminal, interdimensional way to travel between either other times or other.
Yeah, maybe you go there when you're dreaming.
I don't think it's a dream thing. I think it's more of just like we talked. Did you ever see it's a Marvel cartoon for the Watchers?
No, but I had a conversation about the Watchers recently.
Yeah, so the guy, the Watcher, is like, he lives in this liminal space. He can only see all of these different times, all of these different events at all the same time, and he can only watch. And that's kind of the idea. But he can travel. He can go through these different space dimensions and different time dimensions at his will. And I think the idea of the backrooms is kind of fun to put in that, where if I wanted to go see, myself in a different other time and space dimension, I could go do that via the backrooms.
I think you could.
The backrooms is just an amalgamation of like things that have fallen into it. So it's almost infinitely, I keep using the word infinite because I love it, but it's almost infinitely difficult to navigate.
Infinite
So
is such
it's
a creepy word too. Like it gives
Yeah.
me, it makes my skin crawl. I have no idea why,
It does.
but
No,
just thinking
it's
about infinity just makes me feel weird.
I agree. But like to me, it's one of those things. If you fall into it accidentally, you're never gonna get out because you don't know how to navigate it. You don't have that. You're not an interdimensional being in that sense where you can travel between those dimensions. But if you are this interdimensional being, and you're this watcher type, it is very easy to, and you can just use it to go from one place to another. But
Well,
the way the backrooms was constructed was just like things that have fallen and merged into it that got stuck there. And so you just really, it's Captain Jack Sparrow said something like, it you only can get to it if you know where it is already.
yeah, but
Like,
I see it as I think there is a real life back room.
Go on.
It was something that was said on Joe Rogan. It's one of those drugs, DM4 or something like that. You know what I'm talking about? The hallucinogenic.
I don't listen to Joe Rogan, so no. There's DMT.
DMT, there you go.
Okay.
So DMT, there's been not studies, but there's been like talks where people who are like, I guess it is studies because they're trying to do the effects on the drug DMT, and a lot of these people are mentioning this entity that's in the same spot. Like they describe the same area where they walk through, like whatever, like say it's woods or something, and they get to this giant tree, and there's an entity that talks to them, and the entity is described by multiple people. Now, how could someone in a drug-like daze, separate from other people and time, well, not all, but a lot of them are saying that they see, like, there's actually people right now who are mapping out DMT universe, like literally going into DMT trans and building a map, because a lot of the same features progress to a lot of people's highs. And I don't know how true it is, but the stories of them talking, because it's not all that I gleaned from Joe Rogan. I went into other stuff and like YouTube videos and stuff like that. But there's definitely this thing where people believe, and this just doesn't this sound like another, back room, like a back room with trees? Like it's an interdimensional spot that you can't get under normal circumstances. And when you clip in, it's because your brain has been altered to perceive it. That's a back room. To me, that's a back room.
Yeah, and again, backrooms have been around for only, I guess, 5 years now, or less than, or
6.
whatever it is, 6.
Yeah.
So I don't think we know what backrooms is. That's not a bad hypothesis for sure. I
love hypothesis.
Yeah, they're fun. I don't believe that drugs, or I use drugs liberally. Like,
oh, you do? Which drugs do you use?
Sorry. Wow. Whoops. I use the term drugs liberally here. That they don't take you to a different place. They just fire off chemicals in your brain that aren't readily used, but you're not traveling to a different space and time.
Counterpoint. Your consciousness is just a bunch of chemicals interacting with tissue.
Agreed.
So the table that I'm sitting at is here because I perceive it. Now, if I take a drug and I get into, let's take off DMT because I've never taken it. I have taken what is that one that makes you mushrooms?
Mushrooms.
And I didn't take a high dosage, but I did take enough where it altered what I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And while it may not have been real, could have been like, it was funny because me and Blue both took it and we went to the woods around here, and we laid down in the forest because we have trails right here, and we're looking up through the sky, through the trees, and we both said like the same thing, like, yo, I'm like, what? Like the trees, right? I'm like, yeah, they're dancing, right? Like, she's like, yeah, they're dancing. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, could these drugs actually be changing your brain to see something that's not necessarily there in this dimension? It's a small thing seeing the trees dance, but like we were both seeing it, and there was a third person who didn't take mushrooms is looking at us like, what the fuck are you talking about? So maybe it goes into that consensus reality, since there wasn't enough of us to come together to say this is what happening, only we saw it.
I'm not against saying that it's a consensus theory.
Better not. That was a good.
Potentially,
That
yeah.
was a good
That
go over.
I think that fits better than say because and then maybe we're splitting different the word reality or universes and to me I'm thinking of more of a very physical and my brain's already broken.
I feel like humans can't deal with perfection. Once you perfect something, you lose interest in it and you look for something else. When you perfect everything, what do you look for?
I agree with that. That's why I would never want to live forever either.
No, I'm really excited to see what's next. I used to believe we just died and went. Because do you remember anything before you were 3?
I can't say that I do.
Just blackness, right? That's what death is.
It's not even blackness, but
Yeah, it's nothing.
It's the absence of
Exactly.
everything.
That's what death is. That's how I used to believe. But
Yeah.
now I believe death is actually just a transition of this reality into another one. There's actually there's some studies suggest that consciousness comes from outside our mind. Like we're connected through even quantum mechanics, quantum entanglement. We're entangled with something else.
Not everything is entangled.
No, but what I'm saying is that you can use the quantum, use the quantum entanglement to see what I'm talking about. That our brain is entangled with the universe. So when I die here, I just don't die. And you can call it God, you can call it the universe, whatever it is. It's or the higher power. I didn't used to believe that. Now I think I'm not saying like I wish I would die today, but I'm a little excited to like face death now. Like before, it petrified me where I would actually cry in the shower alone.
Wow.
Yeah, my ex-wife, she was like, the first time I did it with her, she's like, "What the hell is going on?" I'm like, it's scary because that's how I think of it. Is like before I was 3, there was absence. Well, if you go on the opposite end, then there's absence too. So what am I doing this for?
See, I like the idea of absence, and I know we're getting super like in
Philosophical
and deep here, but I like the idea of absence because it makes my time here so much more special,
precious. Yeah.
and I know that even if I'm assuming my legacy is not going to live for generations on, but to impact people around me in a way that like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. He's pretty cool.
But do you like that?
For me?
Do you like the idea of reincarnation where you forget a past life and maybe
No.
just remember some things?
No.
So you want this to be your only life. Like this is no afterlife for you. You want this to be it.
Yes and no.
You're so weird, Travis.
I know, but so I'm saying yes and no. I'm saying yes because I do believe in basically an infinite spatial dimensions or time dimensions where, like I said, everything is happening now at the exact same time, and every iteration that could have happened, every decision that I went left and I instead went right, all of those decisions and iterations are also all happening at the same time. And so I don't necessarily believe in being like reincarnated as like a different animal or a different thing, but in theory I could be reincarnated as a different version of myself.
I would love for you to come back on and we have like a whole episode on time travel.
Yeah.
And what was the other thing we were just talking about? You just said it. No.
And death.
Oh, maybe some reincarnation, maybe some philosophical things. Because I always lately I've been telling myself I'm a genius. I've been telling my wife I'm a genius, and
I mean you are.
I feel like it's becoming true because I keep saying it. Like I grew up thinking I was stupid. Now I'm here like thinking about things that people can't grasp, and I'm not saying like I'm like super intelligent. I just think that I have a very open way of looking at things, and I think like I call you weird, but that's good. Like I heard like
first and weird.
Yeah, I heard like 96% of the population is abnormal. So isn't it normal then to be not normal?
Right.
So I would love to, if you want. I think we're going to end it there. I would love for you to come back on and maybe continue this conversation with the time travel, reincarnation, all. Then maybe we can actually get into some of the theories that we touched on, like all the things happening at one time.
Yeah.
And the interdimensional of all the dimensions, and like maybe there's a point maybe we can travel between dimensions and time, because if it's all going at the same time, there has to be a way. There's got to be a way to go to the next aisle. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And Sky, I do want to just reiterate, you are intelligent because you are open-minded, which is something that you need to have, but you're also not, out there saying that all of the open-minded ideas that you have are fact and true. You're not peddling false information about it. You're speculating, which this is wildly fun.
Yeah.
Right. We're having a great time.
I could be
We're
right. I
not-
could be wrong. Who knows?
You could be, but that's what's great about it. That's what makes you intelligent, is you're open to these ideas, but you're also not against being told that you're wrong if in fact something actually comes along and says that you're wrong. So
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I said I hated Neil deGrasse Tyson or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he's very like, nope, that's not how it works. You're wrong. This is what it is. Oh, you believe in that? That's stupid. Like, you know, that's how he comes across sometimes. And
Yeah,
it's like, I feel like you need to be, if you're really going to be smart as you say you are, you need to be a little bit more open-minded. Because you really don't know. You know, let's say I'm 99% wrong about everything I said today. That 1%, that shit is trippy.
Oh yeah, it's trip. But the one thing I like about Neil is that he's basically a, I don't want to say innocent until proven guilty type of, I don't know if that's the right way to say it. Right, cool hypothesis, but you're wrong. Like, that's why I like him, because he's like, until you come to me with all of the evidence, we're just having a fun conversation, which is fine.
That's exactly my point. To really figure everything out, I think I said to her earlier, I was like, I think we need to be open that everything is connected.
Let's make it count. Make it count.
Hey everybody, thanks again for tuning in. Thank you again for Travis from Bar Banter coming in. This conversation was really fun. It was more insightful. It was really enjoyable. I hope you enjoyed it too. And the next episodes we're going to be talking about is some Mandela effects. And then we're also going to talk about a little bit more about interdimensional stuff and like the Hadron Collider and stuff like that. So stay tuned and thank you very much. This has been WKMU signing off. Good night, everybody.
One in Earth. It's time to get up. Bright day ahead. Let's make it count. Make it make it count. Make it count.
This concludes our broadcast day. Good night, and God bless America.